Belén Diaz, and you're watching the E-volve show. And today you're going to be watching an interview with one of the coaches that we have in the directory, and she is Rachel Thor. Hi, Rachel. How are you?
I'm so good. Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here. For all the audience who are watching, I have to say that Rachel and I, we connect here in Boulder a while ago, and we have a lot of friends in common, and somehow life put us in the same industry, so it's great. And now she's in Costa Rica, so that's really cool.
Oh, it's so good. And I've always, through our connection, I've always admired your entrepreneurial spirit and had my own entrepreneurship thing going on. And so it's amazing that we get to now connect and overlap and really, work together to help people. So I'm so happy to be here.
That's great. Thank you so much. So, Rachel, why don't we start telling everybody about who are you and what you do in your work?
Absolutely. So I'm what's called an embodied transformation coach or a somatic coach. So the word somatic is kind of new for people, but someone just recently said that somatic is the new mindful. So what that means for us is that the body is infinitely connected to the mind. So if we're working on self-work, self-healing, healing trauma, making changes, or achieving goals, the truth is that your body and your subconscious are just as important as your conscious mindset in getting to those goals or getting to those healing places you want to be. And so what I help people do is achieve their goals, whether they be healing goals or professional goals or relationship goals, by focusing on not just the mindset, not just the goal setting practice, but the subconscious and the body layers that are needed so that you really step into the permanent change of who you want to be and not just a fleeting version.
Yeah, that's so interesting, Rachel, because I feel like, as you say, a lot of us were just like in the goal setting and mindset, and I can do this. But recently, I've been reading a lot about how the emotions actually, and how they say like it depends of your state in your emotional state, right? So that your emotions stay in your body, and that for me was kind of like mind blowing because I've never thought about that, or like connecting with your body will tell you or will transform things about you, because I feel like we're all day thinking.
That's exactly right. It's exactly right. And the word emotion is sort of an electrical motion current. Literally, evolutionarily, our emotions were designed in or evolved in our ancestors to be chemical signals that would get created to get our bodies to take an action that was for survival. So for example, let's say like we had an ancestor long time ago, they're out tracking and they hear a twig snap. They get a chemical release in the brain that creates the emotion of fear. And what that does is dilate their pupils so they can see their surroundings better. It heightens their sense of hearing so they can listen to if there's a threat, and it starts pumping blood to the extremities in case they need to run away or fight. So evolutionarily, our emotions developed alongside us in our quest for survival. And the ones of us who listened and reacted to our emotions are the ones who passed on their genes. So emotions, as much as we say, oh, I don't be emotional today, they're actually the reason that our ancestors survived. And what we're coming to now, because we've been in a long period of time where we have prioritized the thinking mind over the emotions for a while, and we've achieved certain things that we wouldn't have been able to if we only responded to our emotions. Like we've learned how to do things that are anti what our emotions tell us, and that's sometimes good. But when it comes to healing, when it comes to intuition, when it comes to following our deepest soul's path, the place that we end up needing to go is being able to use both of those skills and not just repressing our emotions and locking them in our body, but actually choosing how to channel those emotions into the actions that they're going to help us thrive.
Yeah, that's super interesting. So I'm curious about like, why did you start this career, or like how did it work for you? This was something that you discovered for yourself, like you were going through challenges, or like this was something you always wanted? Why all of this started?
Yeah. Well, for me, I've always kind of followed my own drumbeat. And I remember in high school thinking, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I thought, I want to be a teacher. And somebody would ask me, well, what subject do you want to teach? And I would say, no, 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 you don't understand. I want to teach life to people, like how to live well, how to be here fully. And I had no idea what that meant. And even through my undergraduate career, there was not a major that was like, this is it. So what I decided to do was to follow whatever made me feel the most alive. And because I followed that, I ended up creating my own major where I combined many different skill sets. And ultimately, looking back on it, they were the exact things I needed to be studying to start my training as a coach. I basically created a major in coaching before people knew what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So on that hand, I've always been on this path of paying attention to my intuition, creating the life that I want, and helping other people do it. On the other hand, on this emotional and the healing side, I also went through some trauma in my life. And it's painful to get in touch with. And for many of us, we share similar loss or pain or violation. And for me, I was 17 and asking my intuition, what on earth do I do with all of this trauma that is overwhelming me? And what my intuition said was dance. And I wasn't a dancer. I hadn't trained. It wasn't something that I was following as a life path before that moment. But when my intuition said dance, I started moving my body. I started crying. I started getting in touch with my repressed emotions from a new perspective. And I started my own healing journey of that trauma. And so it's those two perspectives, the one of we can always create the life that we want. I'm an example of it. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. And this other side of, and we need to use our whole bodies and all of our emotions to support us. Because if we don't bring them on our team with us, then they're going to be fighting against us. And it's much easier when every part of us is facing the same direction to achieve that goal.
Yeah, and that's so beautiful too, because I feel like dancing is like such a, what you say, like it changes your, like, I don't know, like it makes you happier in a second. And that way, like it's such a beautiful work that you do. And so all your coaching goes through, like, that's the way you coach, through dancing. I'm very new
I
at this, so that's why I
Yeah,
ask.
totally. So right now I run coaching programs where I bring them together. So some of my coaching happens just by teaching a dance class and by walking people through experiencing and expressing their own repressed emotions while the music is playing. And that itself is a healing experience, and people get in touch with their own wisdom. They'll come out of just a dance class going, oh my gosh, I had this insight that I never thought of before. They'll figure out their own problems just by dancing and being facilitated. But I also do life coaching, which will look kind of like a Zoom call like this.
Mm-hmm.
where we will, set your intention for the call, find out what your goal is, and really work toward whatever is needed to get you to that goal, which might include checking in with the body in many different ways. Sometimes I'll even do a one-on-one coaching session that looks like a dance class for that person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really all personal, and it's developed based on who they are, what they need, where they're trying to go, what they're trying to heal. And it really, we get to really develop these amazing connections and relationships that are so deep and meaningful on the way there.
Yeah, and I think also like nowadays that we're all day busy and doing and all these crazy things, like sometimes people's like, oh, you have to meditate or but it's hard for people if you never done it or things like that to actually just be quiet for a little bit. So I think like it's so interesting and so cool, like the dancing, because I guess it's a moment where you kind of like forget about everything and you're just in the moment and you enjoy the moment, move your body, learn what you're feeling. So I think that's so important. Do you feel like more people going to your dancing, do you have more women or are men too, or do you think like this is a practice like women benefits the most? Because I don't know why we all love to dance.
Oh, such a good question. It's it's open to everyone, and it benefits everybody. Even if somebody, can't even get out of a chair to move their body, or they lay on the floor the whole time, there are parts of the dance, like breathing and just small movements, that can still have the same benefits. That being said, there's different parts of the dance that benefit people differently. So there's always a phase in the dance that I teach that helps people find safety, slow down, come back into their body. And anybody that's been running, 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 busy, 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 that's a really important step to engaging through the rest of the dance.
Mm-hmm.
The next stage is about learning how to be with anger and express boundaries and understand what you really want. And I found that this phase is vitally important to a lot of women who have spent their lives being told that they're not allowed to say no, or the thing they want is not as important as somebody else's needs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a phase of dancing where we are physically learning in our bodies what it feels like to be empowered in choosing ourselves above other people. And for many people, that's super needed. And then there's other phases that may help men more, like getting in touch with surrender. If they've always been told that they have to be the one who knows what's going on and they always have to be the decision maker, then for some people like that, having the opportunity to practice letting go and trusting something bigger than yourself is the physical embodiment of the journey that they need. And so everybody has a different thing they've been told, a different set of rules they live by. And there's different stages of the dance that can help people learn through their own experience, through their own body, a tool that maybe they were missing out on that now they can bring into their life.
Yeah. So it's like a very personal experience, right? Like everybody will like react to it in a different way depending of their story, their beliefs and everything like that. So
Exactly. It's just like any kind of transformational experience. It comes to meet the person, and the person comes to meet it. So it always shows up specifically with what they need as an individual.
yeah. So for the people who are watching today that are very new to this, as I was, because I never heard of this, what will be your tips like to start like moving the body or dancing, or what will be some things that people can start paying attention to get introduced to this practice?
Oh, I love that question. So the main thing that I would say is absolutely basic is many of us have been told that things like singing and dancing, they're only valid if we're up on stage performing and looking
We're
perfect or
doing,
sounding perfect. Yeah. And so many of us feel afraid to move or to make sounds or to show up dancing because we think we're not good at it. And so the absolute fundamental first step is to let yourself have the shift that it's not about what you look like. It's not, this isn't a dance that we do to perform for anybody else. This is a dance we do to give ourselves healing. It gets to look ugly. It gets to be messy. It gets to be silly. There's nobody else watching and judging except you. And so what we then get to do with that permission is say, oh, I don't have to look a certain way. Now I can choose how I dance based on how it makes me feel. So rather than trying to dance to look perfect for someone else, I get to say, oh, you know what? It feels kind of good to move my shoulders like this. Or, oh, you know what? Moving my feet like that hurts my knees. I'm not going to do it.
yeah.
So by fundamentally reorienting how, like, what we're saying is the value of this dance is the way in. And when the dance actually becomes an expression of, I can love myself through this movement by listening to my own body and being in touch with myself, then then everyone can do it. Then there's no reason not to, because everyone has the capacity to be who they are and just start to move.
Yeah, that's so cool and so important too, what you're saying, because sometimes, yeah, it's what you were saying, like sometimes you just want to do it good, and this is not about doing it good. It's just like, who cares? It's just for you.
Yeah. And then when it's who cares, it's just for you, all of a sudden it's so much more fun. And it's like you said, we get that release, we get that joy.
And
And that's when we get all of the health benefits, all of the emotional benefits, and the physiological benefits of just going for it.
yeah. So just to wrap up with the conversation, why don't we talk about your next event that you're doing? I think it's virtual.
Yep.
It's a 4-day dancing transformation. Just tell us all about it.
Yes. So, I was originally hoping to be having my retreats here in Costa Rica, but with just the times that we're in, it makes sense to have it virtually. So it's 4 days, January 15th through 18th. So it's a Friday through a Monday, and it's all online. Basically, you get to dance twice a day with a group from all over the world. I think there's like 6 time zones now.
Nice.
And each dance is going to be a journey inward to reclaiming a part of yourself or releasing some emotions that have been pent up. So for a lot of us, we maybe want to release some emotions, but it's hard to know how to do that alone.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an opportunity where we come together and really heal and really feel connected to each other. There's also going to be some opportunities for anyone who wants to to take this work outside and be in nature while it's happening. You don't have to, you can be in your living room or something, but one thing that I think we all are missing so much this year is connection and connection with each other. And even if we have to quarantine from each other, if we can learn how to reconnect with the land that's right around us, we can start to reclaim some of that lost sense of belonging and really feel connected. So we're going to travel through, how do you deal with fear? How do you deal with anger? How do you deal with grief? What do you do with your joy in a way that actually supports your community? How do you move through trauma? And how do you create a vision for yourself moving forward for the year that's not just about your brain, what your brain wants, but that your entire body can get on board um, and embody, so that you actually have a much better chance of achieving that dream and that goal.
Yeah, that is so cool. So we want to invite all of you guys for watching today. We want to send you this week, especially because it's the beginning of the year, so it can be a really cool way to start your new year resolutions. I think you're gonna be doing some what was it called? Let me check. A framework for the visions of your year. So I think
Yep.
it's gonna be a really good thing to start the year learning about your emotions. And I think I'm gonna be putting your link on the email for everybody. And I think this week is gonna be you have a special offer, right, for the audience for this week.
Yes. Yes. So through tomorrow or the day after, the 6th or the 7th, we're having a flash sale. Normally, the whole retreat is $47, which for 4 days and 2 dances a day is still an amazing deal. So
It is,
take
yeah.
the deal anyways. But for now, there's a day or two left where you can get the entire retreat for $15, which is the price of one dance class.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll get access to the recording. So even if you can't make a session live, you'll still be able to get all of the benefits of the entire program.
That's great. So yeah, we invite you all to jump in this opportunity to learn about a new thing, about how to heal yourself, feel better about yourself, set your goals for the new year. Anything else you wanna say to everybody, like to finish with our conversation, Rachel?
Yeah, I just want to say that, we're talking a lot about emotions, which can be a new topic for some people. And as someone who's spent my life figuring out how to get there, figuring out how to achieve my goals, to create my own major, to create my own job, to literally create the life that I want, even if it's different than the norm. What I've found is that being true to myself is the most important piece at every step of the journey. If I try to create something or achieve something by ignoring my own truth, it falls apart in the end. So this isn't so much about like, ooh, be mushy, be vulnerable. This is about giving people the tools to be honest with themselves, be true with themselves, so that once they can line up with themselves, they can now create anything they want. And so we're just going back to the basics with all of this, so that we as a community can create more and more of what we want in this very important year, as some things stop working and it's time to create some new things to take their place.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Just discovering yourself and learning about yourself so you can be aligned and create your life. That's all
Yes.
about. That's great. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for being here today with us. We appreciate your time, and it's been an honor to have you here.
Such an honor, such a blessing to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.